It was pouring when I pulled into my parents' driveway. Their house looked like a castle, massive stone pillars, spotlit landscaping, glowing like a magazine spread. I was soaked, jacket clinging to me like wet newspaper, shoes squishing with every step. Didn't matter. I was running on fumes after 36 hours straight at the hospital. Inside, I barely made it 2 steps before the music and champagne chatter hit me. Everyone was dressed in pastels and polished leather, teeth too white, laughs too loud. A giant gold banner read, "Congrats Ryan and Sarah." My mom saw me first. Her smile vanished like someone killed the lights behind her eyes. "Oh," she said, already stepping in front of the nearest guests like she was shielding them. "You didn't call." Before I could answer, my dad came up behind her, arm landing heavy on my back like a bouncer. "Let's talk in the study." He was already steering me down the hallway before I could say a word. The moment we got behind the double doors, I dropped into the leather chair like I might fall through the floor. I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "It's Lily," I said. "She collapsed. Heart failure. She needs surgery within 48 hours or—" My throat locked. I swallowed hard. "She won't make it." My dad just stood there, arms crossed. "Insurance?" "I lost it when the business folded," I said. "I'm still catching up." "Please, I wouldn't come here if it wasn't life or death." He looked over his shoulder toward the door, like the party was calling his name. "We've already spent $160,000 on Ryan's wedding," he said flatly. "The venue, the catering, everything. It's non-refundable." I blinked. "You're telling me you can't help your granddaughter because of shrimp towers and champagne fountains?" "We've made commitments," my mom said quietly from the doorway, arms folded across her silver dress. "It's not that we don't care." "It's exactly that," I snapped. "You don't care." Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. My dad moved to the liquor cart, poured 2 fingers of scotch. "You should have planned better. Maybe Aaron's family can step in." I stood up, heart racing. "I didn't come here for a lecture. I came here because my little girl is dying and I thought maybe, just maybe, you'd act like family for once." My mom looked away. My dad sipped his drink. I turned and left the study without another word. I'd barely stepped out of the study when Ryan blocked the hallway like he owned it. Same smug grin he'd worn since he was 12, hands stuffed in his designer slacks. "Wow," he said, voice low but dripping with mock shock. "You couldn't even wait until after the toast? You always have to make a scene." His fiancée stood just behind him, Sarah, all pale skin and stiff posture, clutching her clutch bag like a lifeline. She didn't say a word, but her eyes flicked from me to Ryan, nervous. I pushed past him, but he slid sideways, blocking me again. "You're dramatic, you know that? Always blaming somebody else for your screw-ups. Get out of my way, Ryan." My voice cracked, but my hands stayed steady. He smirked. "Maybe if you learned how to manage money." "Shut up." My chest burned. "My kid is dying." That stopped him for a second. Not long enough. "You think guilt-tripping us will fix your mistakes?" I dropped my bag and sank to my knees right there on their polished hardwood, rainwater dripping off my hair, my palms pressed together like I was begging at church. I swore I'd never do this again, not in this house, but here I was. "Please," I said, staring up at my parents over Ryan's shoulder. "Please help me save her." My mom was near the dining room archway, arms wrapped around herself like she was cold. My dad stood behind her, scotch still in hand. Ryan laughed once, sharp. "Pathetic?" I snapped my head toward him. "Shut your mouth," Sarah whispered. "Ryan," but he didn't even turn to her. I felt something inside me harden. I reached to my wrist and unlatched the gold bracelet, the one Mom gave me at 18, the one she'd called a piece of our history, and told me to pass down someday. It was heavy in my palm. I stood, walked straight to her, and pressed it into her hand. "Here, keep it. You'll know what to do with it." My voice shook, but my eyes didn't leave hers. She flinched like the metal burned. "What are you doing?" "I'll figure it out without you," I said. "You'll still have your perfect wedding." I grabbed my bag off the floor and turned for the door. My shoes left dark streaks on the marble tile. Behind me, Ryan muttered something I couldn't catch. Then, clear as a bell from the living room, a woman's voice whispered, "That's the troubled one." Another voice followed. "She always brings drama." I didn't stop. My hand was already on the front door handle. I yanked it open, cold rain slamming into my face, and I walked out. I slammed the door behind me and didn't stop walking until I reached the car. My fingers were shaking so bad, I dropped the keys twice before finally getting the engine started. By the time I got home, the sky was just starting to lighten, and Erin was still awake, hair a mess, sweatshirt pulled over her knees, sitting at the kitchen table like she hadn't moved all night. She stood up fast. "Did they help?" I didn't even have to answer. She already knew. I collapsed into the chair across from her and opened my laptop. "All right," I muttered. "Let's try everybody." We spent the whole day calling. Banks, old friends, clients, credit unions. Erin's high school friend in Arizona, whose husband worked in finance. Every single one gave us some version of no. Some were polite, some weren't. I called 3 lenders who specialized in high-risk personal loans. All of them laughed when they saw my credit. By 8 p.m., my voice was shot. I was ready to punch a hole through the wall when Erin came in holding something. A check. I looked at it. $7,500. "What the hell is this?" I asked. "I sold the bike," she said. I froze. "The Indian?" She nodded. "Her dad's old motorcycle. He used to ride her to school on it. After he died, she swore she'd never let it go." I stood up. "No, we'll figure something else out." "It's done," she said. "Don't make it harder." I wanted to argue, but I couldn't. I just grabbed her hand and kissed her knuckles. We kept pushing. I cashed out my 401k, what was left of it. Penalty hit hard, but it didn't matter. Erin took out a small loan in her name. I took one under mine. We added it up, still 21,000 short. That night, we barely slept. I laid there with Erin's head on my chest, staring at the ceiling, listening to Lily's breathing through the monitor. At 6 a.m., someone knocked. I opened the door in pajama pants and a hoodie. Dave and Marie stood there, both holding travel mugs. Dave had his old flannel on. Marie was in boots and a raincoat. She handed me a plain envelope. "What is this?" I asked. Marie gave me a soft smile. "We sold the cabin." I blinked. "No, you didn't." "We did," Dave said. "Figured it'd be more use to Lily than sitting empty 3 seasons a year." I opened the envelope with numb fingers. $34,000 in a cashier's check. "I can't take this," I said, voice cracking. Marie stepped forward, eyes locked on mine. "We don't do fancy," she said. I broke, couldn't help it. Just stood there in the doorway, crying like a damn child, while Dave put his hand on my shoulder and Erin came running from the hallway, barefoot and wide-eyed. We hugged right there in the doorway, all 4 of us. No words, just shaking arms and quiet tears. We had enough. We checked Lily in just after sunrise. No one talked much. Erin sat next to me in the back seat, holding Lily's hand like it was made of glass. Dave drove. Marie had a hand on Erin's shoulder the whole ride. At the front desk, I handed over the envelope with the cashier's check and printed breakdown. The hospital administrator took one glance at it and gave a tight nod. "You're good," she said. They rolled Lily away. That's when the real wait started. The pediatric cardiac waiting room had these awful fluorescent lights and chairs that looked soft but felt like concrete. We took over the far corner. Erin curled into herself, hood up. I kept staring at the hallway they'd taken Lily through. Marie pulled out a Tupperware container, soup, homemade. She handed Erin a spoon and didn't say a word. Just placed it in her lap like she already knew that was the only thing that might go down. Dave poured coffee from a scratched-up thermos he must have had since the 90s. He passed me a cup and sat down across from me, knees spread, arms resting heavy on his thighs. He didn't look at me, didn't need to. He just sat there, solid as a brick wall. Hours passed, 9, 10, 12. We took turns pacing, crying, praying, whatever got us through the next minute. Around hour 15, the surgeon finally walked in. We all stood up at once. My knees almost gave. "She made it," he said, pulling off his cap. "It was close, real close. But she's a fighter." I felt Erin's hand clutch my arm so hard I thought it might bruise. Marie started sobbing quietly. Dave exhaled loud, like he'd been holding his breath for 15 hours straight. "She's stable," the surgeon added. "We'll keep her in ICU for the next 48 hours. You'll get to see her soon." He left, and we just stood there. No one said anything. We didn't need to. A few days later, back home, I was sitting at the kitchen table when my phone buzzed. Ryan, Mom wants to know if she's okay. Also, stop causing drama. I stared at the screen for maybe 3 seconds. Then I deleted the message. I didn't answer Ryan's text. Didn't mention it to Aaron either. We had more important things to do. Lily came home 4 days after surgery. She was pale, hooked to machines, and couldn't walk 10 steps without falling asleep. But she was alive. That was enough. Aaron kept the house running. Marie took the night shifts, sleeping on the floor next to Lily's bed with a flashlight and a stack of crosswords. Dave handled everything else. Groceries, meds, fixing the busted railing on the porch. I got to work. Pulled out my old drafting gear, dusted off the laptop, and started applying for remote gigs. A lot of small stuff. Kitchen remodels, retail floor plans, a custom deck for a guy in Vermont who paid in $2 Venmo installments. Then I saw the listing. Regional hotel chain, 10 properties, full redesign, estimated budget, $1.8 million. I stared at the screen for 10 minutes before clicking apply. 2 days later, I got the call. Pitch meeting in person, Friday at 10. The company's office was downtown, clean glass building with a valet and espresso bar in the damn lobby. I walked in carrying a plastic portfolio, fabric swatches, and a tube of hand-drawn renderings rolled up with a rubber band. There were 3 other firms in the waiting area. One had a slideshow looping on a 4K screen. Another had 3 reps in matching suits. I had a laptop that took 5 minutes to boot and a folding table I used as a desk back home. A guy named Paul met me in the hallway and walked me to the boardroom. 6 people sat around the table, all suits, all watching me like I was lost. I didn't apologize for how I looked, didn't make excuses. I spread out my sketches, laid down the fabric samples, and walked them through it room by room. They didn't say much. A couple nods. One guy checked his watch. And then I stopped. Took a breath. You know, my wife's parents sold their lake cabin so we could pay for our daughter's heart surgery, I said. The room got real still. They didn't have money. They had love, and that cabin was the most valuable thing they owned. They gave it up for us. I looked around the table. That's the kind of place I design. Not trendy, not Instagrammable, places that remember people's silence. I stood there for what felt like a full minute. No one clapped. No one said anything. Paul finally nodded once. Okay, thank you. I packed up my stuff without a word and left. Outside, I sat in my car and stared at the steering wheel, heart pounding like I just ran a race. I thought I blew it, but I didn't regret a damn word. 3 days later, I was eating cold eggs at the kitchen counter when the email came in. Subject: Project Award Notification. I clicked it open with one hand, still chewing. We're pleased to inform you. I stopped reading. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stood up fast. Aaron! She came running from the hallway, hair still wet, towel over her shoulder. What? What happened? I held up the screen. I got it. The whole thing, full contract. She blinked. The hotel pitch? I nodded. All 10 properties. Her hands went to her mouth and she just broke. Full-on sob. I wrapped her up before she hit the floor, and we stood there in the middle of the kitchen like 2 people who forgot how to breathe. Lily came wobbling in a second later, dragging her heart monitor line like a toy. What's wrong with Mommy? She asked. She's happy baby, I said. We're all happy. She tilted her head, then broke into a little spin move, arms out like she was flying. Yay! That night, Dave and Marie showed up with 2 coolers and a bag of charcoal. Dave manned the grill like it was a science experiment. Marie brought peach cobbler, coleslaw, and a 6-pack of root beer. We ate outside at the picnic table, sun setting behind the garage, Lily wrapped in a blanket between Aaron and Marie. No one made speeches. We just sat there, breathing. Finally. A week later, a massive bouquet delivered to my doorstep with a card that read, Congratulations, well earned. C. Mandel, CEO. An hour later, my inbox lit up with press inquiries, business sites, design blogs, even a mid-tier podcast. One article headline stuck out, Man builds empire after parents abandon his family. I read it twice. Didn't correct a word. I didn't think much about the article after it dropped. I had deadlines, invoices, real work. But apparently, not everyone moved on. Erin came into the office one morning, holding her phone like it was radioactive. "Jenna just texted me," she said. "Your dad's company lost 3 of their corporate contracts this week." I raised an eyebrow. "She said one of the CEOs sent the article to your dad," Erin added. "Said, we don't work with people like that." I didn't say anything. I just clicked back into CAD and kept drafting. Couple days later, Erin got another message. This one wasn't digital. A handwritten note showed up in our mailbox. No return address, no stamp, just folded paper in a cream envelope. "Dear Erin, thank you. Your story opened my eyes. I see things clearer now. Sarah Ryan's fiancé. Or maybe not anymore. I didn't ask." I handed Erin the envelope, and she just stared at it for a minute. "She's not the enemy," Erin said quietly. "I know," I replied. That was the end of it. A week after that, Marie told us she heard through the church ladies that my parents were selling the house. "They're downsizing," she said while cleaning out our fridge. "Condo in a gated community. Real quiet." "Good for them," I muttered, reaching for the trash bag. I didn't ask where the condo was, didn't care. Erin tried to read me that night. We were on the porch, Lily asleep upstairs, Marie humming in the kitchen, Dave out back as fixing the fence again. "You don't feel anything?" she asked. I took a sip of my coffee. "Not really? No part of you is happy?" I looked at her. "No, I'm just done, and I meant it. It wasn't bitterness, it wasn't revenge. It was like someone finally turned off the noise in my head. For years, I chased their approval, their money, their validation. And now, they were small, shrinking, quiet, and I was building something real. 2 years later, I had a corner office above Main Street with my name on the glass and a team of 6 I trusted with my life. We weren't flashy, but we were booked solid 3 months out, full benefits, paid sick leave. Every Friday, Marie dropped off a pan of lasagna and left with hugs and updated photos of Lily. Lily was strong, running now, reading chapter books, still had her scar, but didn't care who saw it. Dave took her fishing every weekend. She called his tackle box the treasure chest. It was a Tuesday when they showed up. My assistant cracked open the door and poked her head in. "There's, 2 people here to see you. They say they're your parents." I felt it in my stomach first. Heavy, cold. I nodded once. "Send them in." They came in like they were walking into a courtroom. My dad in a wrinkled sport coat, my mom with her hair pulled back too tight. They sat down across from me without asking. Both had their hats in their hands, literally. "We're not here to fight," my dad said. My mom nodded. "We've been struggling." He cleared his throat. "The store's failing. We had to sell the condo. We're underwater with the IRS. You've done well," she added. I leaned back in my chair, not angry, not even tense, just waiting. "We need help," my dad finally said. I didn't flinch, I didn't speak. I just reached down, unlocked the bottom drawer of my desk, and pulled out a steel cash case. I spun it around and popped it open. Inside, neat stacks of hundreds, rubber banded and counted. $160,000. The exact amount they'd spent on Ryan's wedding. Their eyes locked on it like it was oxygen. "Take it," I said. "That's yours. And after today, don't come back. We're not family anymore." My mom's lips parted, but nothing came out. My dad blinked like I'd hit him in the face. "You wanted clean boundaries," I said. "You got 'em." They didn't argue, they didn't cry. My dad closed the case and stood. My mom followed, eyes on the floor. They walked out without saying goodbye. The cash case was gone. So were they. I shut my office door and didn't give it another thought. 3 days later, we were blowing up balloons in the backyard for Lily's 7th birthday. Dave was already out by the grill, flipping burgers like he was on a timer. Tongs in one hand, cold beer in the other. Marie had a tray of sodas and juice boxes, weaving through the crowd in that sun hat she wore to every cookout. Erin was on the ladder, tying a string of balloons to the gutter. Her shirt was dusty, her hair tied up in a knot, but she looked happy, genuinely. People started pouring in around noon, neighbors, co-workers, even a few clients. One of them brought his wife and 3 kids. Another came with a tray of cookies and said, "Heard a lot about you." I watched Lily dart from person to person, showing off her party dress and the glitter stars on her face. Her laugh cut through the music and chatter like sunshine. Around 2, she came up to me with something behind her back. "Daddy," she said, all shy, "I made you something." I knelt down and she pulled out a crayon drawing folded into quarters, 5 stick figures under a big yellow sun. Each one had a name written in wobbly kid handwriting. Me, Mommy, Dave, Marie, Lily. They were holding hands, smiling. I felt my throat tighten. "Why don't I have another Grandma and Grandpa?" she asked, completely serious. I looked her right in the eye. "Because real family shows up," I said. "They don't ask what it costs." She stared at me for a second, then nodded, like that made perfect sense. I tucked the drawing into my shirt pocket. Across the yard, Erin leaned against the porch railing, arms crossed, watching us. When our eyes met, she didn't say anything, just smiled. And for the first time in a long time, I felt full. Lily's drawing was still taped to my office wall, same spot for 3 years. Sun fading the crayon lines a little, corners curling up. Still perfect. My company now had offices in 5 cities. We weren't flashy, but we were known. Hotels, schools, housing projects. All of them designed to feel like someone gave a damn. Our foundation handled the rest. Emergency funds for families stuck in that same no man's land we'd been trapped in. The ones who didn't qualify for help, but couldn't afford the system either. Dave gave speeches at the fundraisers, always in the same navy blazer and bolo tie. People loved him, said he was salt of the earth. Marie handled everything behind the scenes. Seating charts, caterers, slideshows. She cried at every single one, even though she helped make them. Ryan's wife left him. Erin found out through a friend, said she'd had enough of the fantasy. My parents' old house got torn down last year. Developers bought the whole block. I never went to see it, never needed to. A few months ago, I got a letter, handwritten, no return address. I knew the handwriting instantly. "I'm working on myself. I don't expect anything. Just wanted you to know. Ryan." I didn't write back. This morning, Lily was at the piano, tongue poking out the side of her mouth, playing with 2 fingers like the keys were made of glass. Her scar barely showed now. Erin walked in and handed me a coffee. She glanced over at Lily and smiled. "She's gonna be all right," she said. I nodded. "Yeah, she is." My assistant knocked and leaned in. "CNN wants an interview. Big segment. They want to feature the foundation." I looked at her, then at Lily, then back at the drawing taped to the wall. "Not today," I said. She nodded and closed the door. I leaned back in my chair, hands behind my head.